Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Welcome back to another list of tips, tricks, and secrets that are going to make your life a lot easier in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. Today we're going to be focusing on the Dark Aether. We're going to have methods in here for you to really easily get all of the new schematics and even do so in one game. But we've done plenty of tips videos on stuff outside the Dark Aether too, and those are linked in the description down below. First of all, we've got a tip to make your life so much easier when you're doing the most notoriously difficult contract in the Dark Aether, the ACV escort. This one can go wrong for a variety of different reasons. You can glitch it out by picking up two bunnies at the same time and then the ACV never spawns. You can accidentally despawn the ACV by dropping a Juggernaut care package on top of it. And the zombies can just destroy it really easily. And especially if you're doing an Elder Sigil in the Dark Aether and you're in tier 5, you're going to have multiple Mega Abominations spawning in and trying to take you down while you're doing it. And it's just going to be a bit of a pain. So I'm going to give you a little combo of tips here to simplify things a bit. Number one, when you first get to the ACV, you'll often have a Mega Bomb spawn in there, and I would not bother killing that Mega Bomb and instead just activate the ACV and scoot away from it. And the Mega Bomb will chase you, but it's okay because you'll be able to put a turret circuit into the Sentry that's just around the corner, and that Sentry will then beam the Abomination down for you, and you don't have to waste any time focusing on it. But that's not the main tip here. The real juice comes from the knowledge that the ACV running over zombies that are in front of it doesn't actually cause it to take a whole load of damage. It might look like that's what's happening, but if you pay attention in your game, you'll start to realize that the ACV mainly takes damage from the back. And so you can focus your fire on the zombies that are chasing the vehicle. And I'd also recommend putting a turret on top of the ACV facing backwards so it can continuously shoot into everything that has spawned behind and is still trying to catch up to you. And a bonus tip here is that Casimirs are insanely powerful for stopping zombies from attacking the vehicle. And especially on that third section where you're waiting for the rocket to blast out of the ACV, if you've got a stock of like 4 Casimirs, it's going to mean that the zombies are occupied the entire time, and you'll be able to complete this really easily. Next up, did you know there's a way that you can pretty much instantly get wonder weapons in the Dark Aether without really doing that much work? So there are different keys and locked doors around the Dark Aether, and this is a method that you can use to get 3 keys super duper fast. Once you finish the Outlast contract, go down this little well, this kind of hatch that you've got here into this well, and you'll enter the underground area, and then you can find a key just resting here on this box. Then take the rift just here and fly to the towers connected by the floating vehicles. And you'll want to follow exactly where I'm doing it in the game here. Land on this tower and pick up the first key that's just in the corner here. And then do a little bit of parkour, and you may need to wait a moment for the floating stuff to rearrange itself, but do a little parkour to the other tower and you'll pick up another key. You can now use those 3 keys on the corresponding locations the key name will refer to. And from those locations, you can get free wonder weapons and free power-ups. Now then, this next tip is a little shortcut you can use to prevent you from having to do loads of strenuous labor unlocking attachments on a weapon that takes you forever and is just really painful to do. So all you need to do is spawn in with a friend and have them drop you whatever OP weapon that you want to use with all the attachments on it. And then when you exfil, you'll be able to exfil that weapon as a contraband weapon, and they'll just be able to spawn in with that weapon again as their insurance weapon. There's other stuff here related to this too. Like if you've got people in your lobby who are talking in text chat, people are generally very helpful in this game. And so if you ask if anyone has any spare schematics, there's a good chance that you could just get some free loot for doing no work. Another friendship related tip is that the friendly Hellhound dog will spawn in to the Dark Aether if you had one previously in the Urzikstan portion of your game, and it will do so even if it previously died or disappeared. So it's really worth getting a dog at some point in the match before you go in, and it'll get upgraded when you go into the Dark Aether too, which will make your life even easier. Now this tip's really fast, but it's going to prevent you from being really slow. You see what I did there? So when you grab the Aether Extractor's contract, a lot of people kind of run around aimlessly in the downstairs courtyard area trying to figure out how to get up the stairs. But there's actually a shortcut you can take. Just run over here where I'm going in the gameplay, and you'll be able to rappel up and you'll be on the rooftops right away. Now when you're doing Aether Extractors, Casimirs once again are super useful. And I know some people will say, oh well, I actually want to spend my money on jug suits instead of Casimirs, but a jug suit is 10k, a Casimir is 5k, and you can stack 2 Casimirs in one slot. And I just feel like the Casimirs are more versatile. Like you can use them for Aether Extractors to chuck them just next to a rocket and then very quickly do the rocket and it's done, or to then save them for later if you've got open air there and use them during the ACV escort. Whereas the jug suit is a lot more limited, and sure, it helps you take down abominations, but like I've already said, I think that the Casimirs might just be a bit more useful there. Now I've seen a lot of people debating what the best weapon in the game is. I've got this whole gameplay showcase based video on the Lockwood shotgun, including all of the best attachments for it. I'll link it on screen and in the description down below right now, because I think that's the most OP weapon in the game. But in my live streams that I've been doing, carrying people through Dark Aether runs to give them schematics, take my free loot. I've still had a lot of comments saying that the tier akimbo are really good, despite the fact that they did get nerfed. And so I'm just giving you a heads up. If you're tired of that Lockwood, despite the fact that it's so crazy powerful, the tier akimbo is still a valid choice, as is the Wasp Swarm. Just make sure that you have Deadshot when you're using all these things, because it's going to make your damage much better. Now, to go back to the ACV escort real quick, you can actually use the VR11 to heal the ACV. It sounds insane, but it can heal vehicles, and it works on the ACV too. Just shoot it here a couple times and it'll heal back up. And while you're doing the ACV escort, also, I mentioned that there was a Sentry area at the start, like that first leg of the ACV escort journey, but there's also a chance for one to spawn in on the final leg too, and that pretty much guarantees completion. So definitely worth scouting in your game to see if that turret spawn is there, and then saving your circuit for the last leg if you think you can get away without using it on the first leg. Now, back to the VR11 real quick. A fun fact about this that not a lot of people actually do, but it's really powerful, is that you can one-shot Mega Abomination's mouths with that weapon, even if they're not beaming and it's sort of like open in that ready state for you to take it out. And while you're doing that, you may actually notice that the VR11 in your hands has a crazy fast running speed. Like, it's either equal to fists or it may even be faster than fists. It's very zoomy. So don't assume that this thing's just going to weigh you down, because it's actually very nimble. Now, here's something that you may have always wondered about, and that's staying in the Dark Aether past the expiry of the timer. I've been terrified to test this one because I'm always worried that as soon as that time hits 0, the game's just going to end and it's going to say, well, you died, the end, fail. But it turns out you can stay in the Dark Aether past timer expiration, but the gaseous zone will start to mess you up once you lose your mask. And gold armor will not save you on this one, so just be very careful. Next up, another really powerful weapon in the Dark Aether is the one and only RGL grenade launcher. It's fantastic in there because of its ability to stun. I talked about it in my tier 3 schematics farming video a bunch, and here's an example of me using it in the Dark Aether on the Outlast contract. You can just run up the stairs and then jump off the railing and run back up the stairs and blow zombies up the entire time, and it works really, really well. Another tip for dogs is you can heal them about 33% or so by using healing aura. So if you want to keep man's best friend alive, make sure to heal them. Now, a tip for if you're trying to take down worms in your game, either the purple worm or the red worm, is to buy a legendary wall weapon in the tier 3 zone, so it's gold rarity, if you don't have a legendary wrench available to use. And you might think at first that it's not worth it, like your loadout weapon at blue rarity might be enough, but comparing that to a wall weapon at gold rarity, it's pretty much no contest. The gold rarity will win. So keep this tip in mind when you're trying to take down those worms. Now, a couple more tips for doing the worms is to bring a whole bunch of sentries and set those up around the worm encounter so that you've got line of sight on the worm at all times, and those can also help you take out some of the extra ads that spawn in. It can be useful to bring turret circuits along if you're doing the worm in the Dark Aether, and more circuits means you're going to have more uptime on the sentry, which is always useful. And now let's talk about how you can farm multiple schematics in one match. So the red worm is going to give you some new schematics, like legendary ether tools, flawless Ethereum, stuff like that. And the Elder Sigil in the Dark Aether is going to give you the Dogbone schematic, the Ether Blade schematic, and the Golden Armor schematic. So to do this in one game, you're going to ideally want a purple gas mask, which you can buy from a tier 3 buy station. And you're going to want to make sure that you've got all of your USBs ready to go at the red worm boss fight area as soon as the gas gets there. You don't want to dilly-dally. You need to make the most of your time here. You also want a vehicle nearby to that boss fight, but not inside the boss fight arena because it's just going to get destroyed. But have one nearby that is as close to full health and full fuel as possible because it's going to be useful in a moment. Bring a whole bunch of sentries and set those up to assist you in the fight, and then do the red worm fight as normal. Once it's dead, grab your new schematic that it will give you, and you then have a couple of options. You can either very quickly drive your vehicle from where you're at to the Dark Aether portal and use your Elder Sigil to get into the Dark Aether, or you can use a Scorcher to jump across the map, and this will mean that you get to that Dark Aether rift very fast. So if you've only got like 30 seconds left in your game, it's actually okay. You'll be able to just scorch your way over there and enter the Dark Aether. Or finally, you can do what I've done here and use one of the teleport portals to get yourself over to the Dark Aether super fast, and it might even be so quick that you teleport out of the gas, so you don't even need to worry about your gas mask getting degraded, and you can just run to the Dark Aether portal and enter it without any stress. For more tips, tricks, and secrets, drop a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.